the Lions still cover 2-0 in the Pros game yesterday. Phillies, Eagles.
You got a recording paused here. Unpause that recording. HFR. Woo. Fresh back from the motor sitter.
Motor sitter. What's the motor sitter?
Motor sitter. Oh my God, Matt. These are the times of our lives. I went back to the city for a wedding. And I got to tell you, man, it's been several years since people really, it was amazing to see how many rehearsals were going on. Every venue is packed. Every place that you go took photos, there was 4 or 5 wedding groups, like, iconic places in the city. Like the demand for weddings has been so backed up for 3 years since unreal. St. Anne's Cathedral, Matt, Basilica. I'm not sure how you get the Basilica name, but 1886 it was built. Second longest parish, I think, next to St. Augustine or something. 1701.
But not church, just to be clear. Not church.
Church. There have been 6 churches since 1701.
Yeah,
and then they built the Basilica in 1886. Again, dude, I look at you look at it and you're like, 1886, man. That must have been an endeavor to build that joint in 1886. A lot of horses, I must have imagined, involved.
A lot of horse and pulleys.
Exactly. Pulleys and horses and pulleys. And it was just great. It was just fantastic to be back out on a dance floor, doing the worm. I mean, come on. Being a white supremacist, it's just great. It was just great. and then the reception was at the Detroit Savings Bank, which must have sat empty for 4 decades. And they turned it into an event space. Big safe right in the middle of it. Again, just a big marble, just gorgeous interior, right downtown.
Does the couple go and consummate in the safe? Is that how it works? You pay extra for that?
I got to tell you, I was a little underwhelmed at the size of the safe. I mean, it didn't seem like it could hold that much cash. I'm sure it was built in the 1850s or something, but the door was formidable. Like, to get the safe door open would have been a real challenge. I'm not sure there was enough dynamite butch to do that. Matt, and then got to sit and watch a Lions game with Lions fans, and unbelievably, like I'm still a Bear fan. Like, if that was the Bears, I would have been upset. Like, I legit would have had to get up and go walk it off, walk around the block. I'd have been pissed if they gave the game away.
Sure.
Like the Lions did. And the Lions fans,
I try explaining this to people, but I really don't care, because I just expect them to.
That was expected. Everybody's like, yep,
that's exactly how that was the finish that I expected. You're 100% right there.
Unreal. Mm-hmm. I just don't get it. Matt, let's zig and zag, because we talked on the way in, and I told you how I thought Detroit is coming back. And you're still the don't on Detroit coming back. There's a great vibe in the city. There's a lot of young people walking around. And it's so crazy.
You're in the little micro bubble.
Wait a second, though. No, this is what I'm telling you. There's these little pockets. So we went to the rehearsal dinner was at the Oak and Reel, right? And it was out west of the city. And there's, boarded up and burnt out houses still all around. But then all of a sudden there's a 4-story condo complex. And then there's this restaurant. And they had to drop $1 million into the build out of the restaurant. It was like a warehouse space. Beautiful. The food was fantastic. I guess the chef was, Michelin guy obviously from Detroit. Who would go to Detroit to risk this endeavor? Anyway, we talked about it. I said the downtown's got a vibrancy, and he's like, yeah, but who's employed there? And then we both said Rocket Mortgage at the same time. Let's look at Rocket, because they are employing a bunch of people downtown Detroit, adding to the vibe that is evident there. Evidently.
Yeah, well, but again, they went public at the peak, and you know, they're gonna be going, they'll go away just like they always do. I try to explain this to you. This is a service business, and we'll get into the service inflation a little bit here in a while. But yeah, I mean, this stock's trading at 680. You saw the commercials, you'll still see them with the app and everything during NFL, and you got all the commercials, but the reality is the people who bought the houses at 2.5 now can't sell, because even though they might be able to find a sucker at these high prices, they're not going to be able to buy, because they can only buy 1/3 of what they could afford before, and at these still prices that are 5% lower, maybe, you know, than the all-time high. That just puts a stalemate and another. So the demand for housing is just going to disappear for a number of years, because people are going to wait. They think we're going to
Say that again, because I think that's important.
the demand for housing. The demand for housing. So this is not 2008 and 9, right? This is completely different. This wasn't created by the mortgage industry. Rather, the mortgage industry was handing out, you know, lower than realistic, you know, inflation or interest rates were handed down to the Fed, right? So they took the rates to zero, negative, and they offered 2.25. I know tons of people that got mortgages down there, so that's great for them. Again, especially if they bought in, I don't know, 2018, but those profits will dissipate slowly over time, and the demand. Your couple that just got married, they're not going to be buying. They're not going to be looking to buy a house.
No, they already bought a house. How about that? They were lucky. Got in early.
But maybe they bought it, you know, 10 years ago. I don't know when they bought it, but Detroit's a different market all the time. So it's not like a crazy market anyways. Things don't quadruple in 2 years like they do here. So, you know, it's still normalized there.
Well, I mean, back to Rocket, like what do they do if they have 6,000 employees downtown Detroit? Like,
well, that's the thing. They're down there now, and you know, maybe 4,000. Let's just say 4,000 of them live down there. I don't think more than 400 of them live down there, but they all live in the suburbs.
The don't. He just keeps don'ting on his hometown.
I mean, but
I'm
again,
trying to
Bob, why would you live down there if you had kids and they go to school? You got to drive them out to the suburbs. There's no schools you're going to send your kids to, and you can't go to the grocery store. So give me a break. I mean, it's a great story. I grew up there, and I'm all for it. But the thing about
grocery stores now, there are.
The thing about Detroit is it's always been a huge swath of geography below 8 Mile, and it's huge. And
yeah, 138 square miles.
Yeah,
think about that.
It's huge.
It's unreal.
And so how are you gonna, and there used to be neighborhoods like in Chicago with the Polish and the Italian and the German, that the Mexican village, all these things. Mexican town's still there, but nobody else is coming back, because we've now skipped 2 generations. 2 generations haven't grown up in the city.
Right.
And they've made roots in really nice places out in the suburbs with grocery stores and schools and garbage service. So why
free garbage service in Detroit? I didn't know that. Yes, it's true. All right, man. Let's go to service inflation. Hold on a second. Let me share the graphic, because this is one thing that I just didn't understand it or know it. Inflation is the worst it has been in 50 years, and now being driven by services which are not correlated to commodities prices or supply chains, i.e. service inflation is the sticky type that scares the bejesus out of the Fed, and it is rocketing like Rocket Mortgage higher at present. It's been said ad nauseum that the U.S. is a service economy, and this is the type of inflation, like this thing says, that's like, wait a second, if our economy is based on services and that inflation starts going through the roof, I gotta tell you, man, one more thing that's like, and we got to do it, man. Bring up the bonds, because that's your representation of what's going on, how people.
Yeah, and again, this morning we had a little reprieve, and everybody was excited. I was excited on Friday for a little bullish action. We got it for about an hour, and then by 7:30, we made the IB was set. This is why you use these tools. The IB was set, and the high was made for the day, and that was 37.35 ish, something like that. the bonds hadn't made new highs or anything. So that was really sucked them in. And for me, it was an easy sell at 730 today. I bought the open, sold 730 and wrote it down, still writing it down. And we're at the low of the day when it comes to the SPOOs. So they're making new lows again here. But the bonds, again, 126.07. And I'll point out again, the fresh interest rates, the inversion continues to expand. The dollar continues to expand every time we say this. So the 2-year again is up 3%. The 10-year is up 5% today. So the 5-year is gaining ground a little bit today, but still almost a half a point below inverted. So it's huge. It's a huge spread. I mean, talk about that a little bit, Bob, because that's a huge spread. That is. Do you remember that? Do you remember?
I don't remember it. And. Interesting for me in the interest.
And honestly, you and I probably weren't around when that type of inversion might have happened, and that might have been in the late 70s. I wasn't trading then. I know you're a little.
I don't have the graphic to share, but that you shared inside the network.
Yeah.
The never have we seen this type of move in rates.
Right.
In this short a period of time, never.
And again, remember this was August 1st, right? And that was when everybody was celebrating that we're the bottom's end, right? And the equity market, and we had this huge 10% rally. Well, now, yeah, and bring up that. Do you have that chart that I put in there from Charlie?
Yeah. Let me grab it.
Because it's interesting because bonds have never really had down years.
That's the whole thing that's incredible about the chart is there's been plenty of years where you've had incredible upside in this market, but not so much the other side. Like back to the teacher teaching statistics and having the coin flip, and wow, that's weird. The coin flip never goes negative here. Hold on, look at how fast I can do technology. It's crazy. The guy's got serious skills. Serious technology skills. Look at that, Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Let me expand it so we can really get a good look at it. Now, Charlie says the U.S. bond market is on pace for its worst year in history with a loss of 13.8%. That's where we are today. Of course, there's a quarter left. And, Matt, we need to talk end of the month, end of the week, and end of the quarter coming here. Entering the year, 2.9% decline for bonds in 1994 was the largest ever. Now, obviously, there's another quarter left, so they could reel this thing back in. But when you look at that, Matt, 4 down years in the past 50,
and barely below a percentage, right? Except for 1994 again, 2.9%. So yeah, it's bad. And for it to be down 14% tells you something's really wrong. Something like that's saying there's no safety in bonds is what that's saying, and that's also saying before the fact of the masses realizing this that there's no safety in the United States. And let me say that again: there's no safety in the United States if you can't trust the good faith and backing of the U.S. government, right? And that's what these bonds are. We're not talking about corporate bonds. And bad.
No, we're talking about supposedly a risk rate.
We're talking about
rate
rates.
Return.
That's correct. We're talking about a guarantee coming from your government, pretty much regardless of whatever the equity market is doing. There's still some safety here. So for that to be read 4 times is a lot. But we haven't, we've been read 21 and 22, and 21 was a bad, there was only 2 other years that were worse. So when you think about that and the extent and some of those, look at the upside that we had in the 70s and 80s when we had inflation. This is the shocking thing, right? Because we're actually going the reverse. So these bonds were so high, they were so high that now they're selling off as they're raising rates, right? We are raising rates. So it's the opposite. It's almost the opposite. Like it's very difficult.
It's confusing.
It's very
what it is.
Difficult to explain, right? And you should
be, Matt,
you should be scared. And along with that, we talked a little bit about currencies, and you want to lead in a little bit on that?
Yeah.
Because U.S. dollar, I'll lead in with the U.S. dollar while you're preparing. And
Oh,
the
no,
US,
here we go, because it was this weekend that the pound really went bananas last night. Is it the sovereign? Is it the king in charge now? I don't know. I don't know that, but he does have people are like, well, wait a second. Oh, wait a second. Here, His Royal Highness the Prince, 1992, fully already there.
well, he had mommy issues all along because he knew she was
Hey,
going to
listen, we all have mommy issues. Let's
I'm
not
just
throw
saying,
that on
let's
Prince
call it what it.
Charles.
But
King
he
Charles.
had monarchy issues also going back to the time when he was a young man. So Harry and Meghan, nothing new there, kids, nothing new there. And but the point is, I don't know about you, but I don't, even in the mainstream threads now, people are starting to like perk up and go, what is this World Economic Forum that you and I have been talking about for hundreds of years? But like the regular people, maybe at your wedding, are they talking about it? What's the feeling?
No. It's still not there. And again, amazing how the mainstream media is portraying the election results in Italy as a fascist revolution.
Right.
Right.
Yet if you listen to her speech,
listen, and the first thing when I thought of when I saw that is like, make fascism hot again, because she's way better looking than Mussolini ever was. But back to
yeah, but this is the ignorance of Americans and their historical references, because she's no, I mean, give me a break. It's just like, first of all, Americans now, they don't even know what fascism is because they think Antifa is peaceful. So that's all I have to say. Give me a break.
Let's go back to the pound though, because and I want to share again, like I said, we're rolling the quarter here.
Yeah.
And I got price discovery back to 72.
I got back to 71. So
yeah, when I was 9, I was definitely 9.
Mm-hmm.
Funeral 9 on the craps table.
Well, here's the chart long term. This is a weekly chart going back to 72. That's right when we peaked. Isn't it amazing how things come public right when they peak, pretty much? It's just amazing.
No, that's just they didn't go public. That's just it's as far back as FXCM has the data.
I know. Anyways, we're testing the low that we put in 1984, by the way, my graduation, freshman year in college.
George Orwell was predicting it here, 84.
So we've taken 38 years to round trip back to this level. And if you want to look on the short term, it was bloody. But again, is the pound really that important anymore? I don't know. I mean, to me, the euro already usurped the pound when that happened. So that was 20 years ago. And it's just, this is more about ego for the royals than anything else. They kept it alive just for them, I guess, right? Because it's not, I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
All right, let me share it because we got a little nuance that I get to share. A little nuance. This is the quarterly. Are you seeing the quarterly, man? Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to point this out. It has been on a lower trajectory here since 07. And the thing that's interesting to me now, not only are we testing this double bottom, okay, and yeah, that might hold, but nuance wise, more importantly for me, is this lower band is starting to fall away. And so, I mean, we said it, I talked about it in the euro. I mean, I thought 80 cents was legit on the euro, right where they put that on the board.
Yeah, but you can't, again, I'll say this because look at your reference back to 84. Don't trade the lowering.
No, I'm just saying that.
I'm pointing it out though, because
people
don't understand. The lowering band doesn't mean we're going lower. Matter of fact, last time it was like that, it went much higher. So the last couple times it was going lower here and it went higher, went lower here, it was going higher. So, but I would sell it if it got back to that 141, but 155, but I don't see it getting back there. So
no, I mean, I would sell it anywhere into the 120s.
Exactly.
I don't see that happening either.
Right.
And just
bring up the dollar. Bring up the dollar again here. Up, hit one new high last night, 114, almost 115. It was like 114.70, and we said 120 is the next number. It's just a matter of when. Nothing has changed here. 120 target Target in,
Target in.
right?
The other one I wanted to bring up and look at, all right, so this is another back to the nuance though of the outer band kicking, just like it did here in the 80s. This kind of looks really similar to me.
Well, it's right there in that large expanding one back.
Yeah, and I just like
so.
what is going to change fundamentally to knock this out? I just don't see it. Like the world seems completely upside down when you see moves in a fiat currency like the pound had.
Yeah.
And
when everybody's been short the dollar, right? That's the other side of it. Everybody, because of the long-term nature of the, like, again, their trading time frame is not aligned with the chart. The chart right now is going to go higher, to your point. So why are you fighting it until it actually shows, that it's made a top at some point? And that could be 150, it could be 200, it could be 120, but it's going to be one of those levels. And there's no hurry to short this thing. You're going to have plenty of time. You're not going to wake up. It's going to be a slow demise.
Exactly. And again, looking at these quarterlies for sure. Time is, just like Mick Jagger said, time is on your side.
Yeah. And we've been talking about the dollar for over 2 years to be long, 89s all the way up to here. And we said 120. I mean, again, it's like a broken record, but the chart is so proving it to us right now. And it's going to take people out on the stretcher because they're all fighting it. And why fight it until something on the short-term chart breaks or says it's done going up? I mean, there's just nothing here right now that says that at all. So, I mean, if you want to do your best turtle imitation or your Tudor Jones imitation, jump on, because it's even from here, you got another $6 up to 120. That's a huge move.
It is. Huge all right. What else?
120, by the way, is just an intermediate test of an area.
No, I agree with you. Like I said in that chart, like in the 80s, it's just starting to kick and go parabolic. So, and I just don't see how the world just settles out in the next, couple quarters. They'll figure it all out. It's just going to all settle out, right?
Yeah, but the only thing that's interesting about it is like this was the blow off move to put a bottom in for a while for the pound. That's all it was. Like it had already been going down. Now that they say it and they blow it out. I mean, matter of fact, we're at the, we made the low and then we took out the overnight high and traded higher already. So
let me ask you this: I didn't look at any feeds. Was the central bank?
Yeah, well, they came out and said they're going to lower taxes. I don't know how the central bank can do that, but they're going to lower taxes. Apparently.
No, that was the new. Yeah, there was somebody new elected or appointed.
Yeah. Anyways.
That should be in everybody's byline: elected or appointed. Like I want to know, did the people choose you?
Like Ursula from the EU, appointed.
Appointed.
Not elected.
Appointed.
Pure puppet of the WEC. Can we just start saying that she's not from the EU, she's from the WEC? Can we start saying that?
Hey, by the way, I thought
Prince Charles or King Charles, WEC. Biden,
WEF. What you're confusing it is the Lions on their shoulder pad. They have WCF. William
Fields.
Clay Ford.
Maybe I'm thinking of WC Fields. I don't know.
You're thinking of the WWF. Yeah, I had to take a double take looking at the Lions uniform because I thought they were sponsored by the WEF, World Economic Forum Lions, and it was actually WCF, William Clay Ford, definitely William Clay Ford.
Oh, speaking of the Ford, you want to?
Yeah, let's look at Ford because we looked at Rocket. Let's look at Ford, and apparently the wait list or wait time to get a pickup truck is a year now.
Again, we talked about this last 1 week ago when it was here at $15. Said short it. We've made you $3 already. Made you 20% a week. So take some of that off. Be smart, and we're back to the range. This thing will trade back to single digits. We talked about this before. We talked about it in the fall when it was trading up at 25 and people were scoffing at Ford. Yeah, you're going to short that? Yeah, I am going to short it. I'm going to continue to short it. And I am shorted. So it will go back to this $4 price range for sure. No cars.
Guaranteed, probably.
No cars, no demand, higher interest rates. Although, the interest rates on borrowing for a car never get that low anyways. So they stick it to people that don't have the cash for a car, right? They stick it to them hard. I mean, that's where that is where the auto companies make money, if they own their financing arm.
We got a little request for Natty. I don't think, let's look at Natty. It is. We talked about it last week. Winter is coming, Jon Snow.
Yeah, and we're lower. Crude had a huge rally today, and then a huge reversal. So Natty is actually flipped green finally today. So maybe it's put in its bottom, but it did make another new low today. 675 was the low on Friday. Today we got down to 652.
Bring it up. We don't see it.
Sorry about that. Thought we were there. So got down to 650. Haven't taken out the overnight highs of about 695, but again, this thing's been going down for a solid 2 weeks now, which is usually a pretty good trend time frame for natural gas, I find. So we've gone from 920. I mean, wow, just think about this move here, Bob. 920 to 650 in less than 2 weeks. Look at that. Look at that.
That's unreal.
I mean, and before that, it was 1050. So 1050 to 920 was a 10% haircut. And again, could we go back to 530? Sure. Why not? This thing's violent right now. But, I will say that this high over here is kind of where we pause at 650. So it's a key number, but it's not key on the profile, on the longer term profile. So if you're gonna trade this thing and use 650 as a backstop, fine. But if it gets below it, 530 as a backstop, fine. And it gets below that.
The chart has got so much risk in it.
You better know your levels, right? This is the thing.
Right.
Nothing is guaranteed here, is all we're saying. So if you're going to buy it, if you think natural gas is going to have problems not only in Europe but here, then that's a good story. But the chart is dangerous. The chart is a dangerous chart to buy. It's a dangerous chart to buy, which makes it interesting.
Yes, exactly. Let me ask you this. We'll go back to that chart because I don't want to pick your thought process, brain. You understand it's a dangerous chart to buy. If you fractal back in, then give me some levels that somebody put a gun to your head and said you have to sell it. Where's your kind of thought process?
Yeah, well, I think, again, we're out of value. So that value begins again at 705. So 705 up to 940 would be right now, those levels that are more interesting. 940 being the high end. So that's a big range.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, just because that is a giant value range. It is fat. It is worth a lot of money. It's a lot of risk too.
Yeah.
So would you consider selling it at $7 and then reversing and going long if it got into that profile, or no, you would just be patient?
I think actually, I think right now, if 650 doesn't hold, then we'll probably trade down into the fives. I mean, that was just seen here in July.
Okay.
So this is a really, 650's got to hold. And if that doesn't hold, then we're going to go lower. And then you got 625, and then below that, 580 and, 550. Right. And then you see those lows down in there. So I don't know what's going to take it up, but it won't take much in the news department to get, this going again. And then watch what natural gas or watch crude. Crude's getting to a level, and we've talked about it here. You
talked about this level for a long time. Yep.
You get down to 72, 70. I'm interested in buying this thing. So we're at 76 today, which is another new low on crude. And again, this is not, and again, I think this had to happen. We have the election coming up. So, I mean, just think about what's driving this. It has nothing to do with supply and demand. I hate to use the word when we're talking about crude, but it's a pure rig. It's a pure rig. And what do I mean by that? Well, they're keeping prices falsely low with the strategic reserves, selling those off, using them. But we don't have anything left after that. We don't, did you, while you were up, was there still smoke from the largest refinery on fire in Toledo while you were there?
We did not get any of that. The beautiful, crisp north winds blowing in Michigan.
But did you see that while you were there?
I did not, man. I was celebrating life, and
But
not
it was a big,
consuming.
I mean, it was local to Detroit. I mean, Toledo's
Yeah,
only
yeah. Well,
45
like I said,
minutes
well, I
away.
didn't. I
So
was.
anyways, there's a large BP refinery there on Lake Erie and right across the border and in Toledo area, and that thing was on fire. And again, nobody's talking about the refinery, second largest producer in America, on fire. So that makes sense why rates or oil is lower today. If you had that, you sort of
Well, you don't need the crude if you can't refine.
well, right. But this is what I'm saying. This is what's happening. And then then you got liberals telling you that it's a refining problem. I'm like, well, yeah, but do you know who shut down the refining and the drilling? Who shut that down? Like, do you not get how it works?
Apparently not.
No. So, but again, this thing could safely trade back to 60 and be still very bullish. So that 60 to 70 area is interesting to me, as you can see. And I just don't see it staying down there after the election is over, regardless of who wins. Regardless of who wins. Yeah, again, the service inflation is creeping up on everything. The inflation numbers that they're giving us are completely baloney. Like, you don't want to count food, energy, education, healthcare, housing. Okay, then we're only at 9% inflation. Super. But you didn't count anything that's doubled and tripled.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
all right, Matt, last but not least, continuing deterioration in price. And so magically the Pfizer CEO got COVID again, tested positive, so they could have another storyline.
Because nobody's taking the jabs.
What I don't understand is, how do you sell a product that didn't stop you from getting it again?
Well, because he thinks he's a folk hero. He's like, he and Fauci are so clueless. He thinks that people like them. And not only did he get COVID, but it's the second time in like 3 weeks. Oh yeah, Russia. And he says something about, well, the variant vaccine wasn't quite mixed. The mixologist wasn't done yet. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got it again. And he says I was just following the CDC's guidelines, so I followed them. So please do the same. I mean, this is like the worst backhanded slap in the face.
That is breaking news. Breaking news. Do you know where your spike protein is?
Yeah.
Breaking news. Bring up any one of the jab stocks. Yeah. And
I would love to, because I was looking at.
You've been calling on these to go to zero, a few of them. So
I still contend this is the largest financial fraud, government fraud we've seen in the world, and we're living through it. And I mean, the one that really kind of shocked me this morning, and I saw it was lower, was down 7.3.
Oh, you just
3%. That's Novavax. So Novavax traded all the way up to 333, is now back down to $16, Bob. 16.
Wait a second. Say that one more time.
333, March of 21, February of 21, all the way down to September. We're trading down here, $11, $12. We bounced a little bit, off that level, but we're at 1944. But today down another 7.5%. Oh, where are we? Oh, COVID lows. COVID lows. So this speculative name that was involved in the manufacturing of said vaccines is now back to, where it started, right? Full round trip in less than 2.5 years. That should be a wake-up call. And then when you look at Moderna, we've been talking about it. It continues to make new lows here. 120 also down 2.5%. And again, this thing
got a lot more room to go.
It has room to go yet, because it was down here. It was down, and again, it was down at $25. If you don't think this is going to fall another $100, you're kind of clueless, because it's going to. And then BNTX, the sister company, right? Same thing. This thing went, and don't forget, but these things went even higher. I mean, this one was up at 460, trading 128. And again, COVID low for this is back here again at about $25. So got another 100 to go on this one. And then Pfizer which, again, the CEO claims he's got COVID again as a free marketing ploy. Okay, whatever that means. Well, March of 20, you were back here on the road to perdition at 2687, and you drove it all the way up to 6178. And the veterinarian CEO, by the way, of Pfizer, let me say that again, the veterinarian CEO of a pharma company who told you that ivermectin was a horse pill, but he should know, he's a veterinarian, that it's not.
I took the horse pill and it seemed to do wonders for me. That's another story. I do have this knack now of going way more than I ever have. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to sue.
But this is making, Pfizer's making you lows again here, and, just holding on. The point of control is 36. And again, $246 billion market cap, Bobby.
Well, that's because, everything's brought to you by Pfizer. Like you watch it, it's unreal.
Myocarditis in kids is brought to you by Pfizer. They have a drug for that.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do. All right. That's it. That's what we got. I'm still nursing a weekend of celebrating. So, by the way, made the manja rub with brown sugar on chicken thighs Thursday night. Definitely Thursday night. Just smashed it. It's a good meal when people are like looking for more and it's gone. Like nothing gets wrapped and goes in the fridge. Everything gets smashed.
Well, I did a revision Saturday on I had the leftover
Thai beefs.
Yeah. So I got another baguette, did it again. Oh, dude, killer.
So,
and I reloaded at the grocery store for tonight if you want to do it. So I got 3 more packages of it. If you want to bring another baguette, we'll whip it out.
I'm on a diet. No more carbs. Look at me. I look like I got stung by a bee.
There's no carbs.
Repeatedly.
You just have to stop drinking. That's all.
The head is giant and it needs to stop. Somebody needs to put a stop to it. All right, Matt. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark. We'll be back tomorrow at marketvitals.io is the community. Please visit us. Market Vitals the stream. Please retweet it, for goodness sakes. Thank you, Matt.
Bobby, welcome home again.